did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. Today we are going to be making a bacon cheese smothered chicken. So good. And we're going to have lemon pepper roasted little red potatoes, and for dessert we're going to have a mixed berry crisp, which it's going to be so good, so we better get started. The first thing I want to do is make the marinade for the chicken. Now, I have about half a cup. Doesn't have to be exact, just ish, if you know what I mean. About half a cup of chicken broth. I have about half a cup of honey. One of my favorite ingredients to use in cooking is honey. It's so delicious. Absolutely love it. Got about a teaspoon of dry mustard and about a teaspoon of dried thyme, which I'm going to kind of crush in my fingers to release those oils. This is so easy to do. Then I want the zest of 1 lemon. This is a dish that you could make ahead and put it in the refrigerator and then, bake it off at a later time if you wanted to. You could get the marinating done, which is what we're doing right now, ahead of time. And actually, I already do have some of that done ahead of time, so that when you're ready to bake this chicken, it only needs to bake for about 25 minutes, 30 minutes, so you'll be good to go. You want the zest of 1 lemon, and then you want the juice, of course, of the lemon. And I'm going to do mine through a strainer to catch those seeds. I don't want the seeds in there. The zest of the lemon. Lemon to me brightens anything very quickly. Now the marinating of the chicken, you want to do for at least 2 hours, but you could do it up to, overnight if you wanted to. That would be fine. You want to whisk this together. This is going to be your marinating. Now, what you want to do is divide this in half, because part of this is going to be used as marinade and part of this is going to be used as a baking liquid for your chicken, and I'll show you in a minute what I mean. But you want to get all that whisked together, and I do find a whisk is one of the best tools for this. If you don't have a whisk, you could, of course, use a spoon. Mustard is sticking together there. There you go. Now, this recipe, I'm using 6 boneless and skinless chicken breasts. You could do 4, you could do 6, just do it whatever you want. You want to take the boneless, skinless chicken breasts. You could use tenders if you wanted to. A couple of pounds, 2.5 pounds or so. I'm using 6. You want to put them in a Ziploc baggie and then pour half of this marinade over top of your chicken. Now, I did these last night and just let them marinate overnight. And it's the same thing as what we just did. It's just I put the chicken in the little baggie and just let them marinate overnight. I have a large skillet preheating over medium-high heat, and I want to add a couple of tablespoons. I'm using olive oil. If you want to use canola oil, you can. Vegetable oil would be fine. Whatever you have on hand will work. We're going to take our chicken out of this marinade, and we're going to brown it in our skillet. Tell you what, let's do so that I don't drip raw chicken all the way over here. Let's move her over here. You're going to brown both sides of the chicken breast really well in the skillet. Smells so good. I love to marinate chicken. I love to just do all kinds of things. You could, like I said, you could do this the night before like I did. Let me turn that down just a little bit because it's splattering like crazy. The liquid is causing that to splatter. Drain off as much as you can. See what I'm doing? I'm holding that up to kind of let that drain out as much of that liquid as I can to reduce the splattering. And there you go. Now, you want to discard this, you're going to use half of the mixture that you made up. Throw this in the garbage because it's had raw chicken in it. You can, sometimes, if you do, I wouldn't if I marinated it as long as I did. You could use that and be sure you boil it for like 2 or 3 minutes at a really high boil and use that. But I think it's safer just to divide it in half and just use half the marinade. Now, my chicken is browning, and I'm actually going to cover it with one of my favorite little kitchen tools, which is a splatter guard. Keeps your stove from getting all messed up. And while that's browning, we're going to start on our next dish, which is roasted potatoes. I love these little red potatoes. In my store, I just got the little ones. If you can't find the little small potatoes like this, you can use the bigger ones and then just cut them in half or in, fourths, whatever you need to do. These, I think I'm just going to cut these in half. And I have a lined baking dish. I've got about, I'm using about 3 pounds of potatoes, but you use however much, you think your family will eat. I love these little red potatoes, and I find what I do is halfway through their cooking, that one's kind of big, so I think I'll quarter him. I tend to eat some, I get some out, and I eat them before they're even done. I know it's strange, raw potato, but I love raw potatoes, so I always cook extra because I snack. Are you that way when you cook? As I'm cooking, I go and I eat half of my meal before it's ever even finished on a lot of things. My mother gets so tickled at me because I will be cooking something and I end up eating half of it before I ever even sit down. So when I sit down to eat, I'm not really all that hungry because I've already eaten. But I know most cooks do that. We tend to taste as we go along. But these little red potatoes are my favorite. Now you could use any kind of potato you like. You could use russets, you could use Idaho potatoes, you could use Yukon Golds. I just really like these little red potatoes, but you use what your family likes the best, and that'll be fine. Let me get this out of my way. Now, to my potatoes, my oven is preheated for this dish at 475 degrees. Now, if you only have one oven, I have double ovens here. I have 2 ovens. So I can do that with, a higher, I can set them at 2 different temperatures. If you only have one oven, what you'll need to do is set your oven at like 475 degrees. Get these started, and then after about 15 minutes, reduce the temperature down to 350, and then because we're going to bake this chicken and add your chicken to it. But if you have 2 ovens, this temperature is about 450 to 475. I'm going to add some extra virgin olive oil. This is a simple side dish that I make, 1,000 different ways. I use this same base right here, and then I mix this part up and make all kinds of different versions. This is one of my favorite. This is a salt-free lemon pepper blend. You can get lemon garlic, you can get zesty. You've all seen this in the grocery stores. Just get whatever you like. This particular one is lemon pepper because the chicken has got lemon in it. And this just happens to be one of my favorite little blends. I use this a lot over fish and things like that. Because that's salt-free, I'm going to add a little bit of salt. I'd say about a tablespoon or so. Just going to get these in a 475-degree oven. Going to turn my chicken. We're going to take a quick break. And when I come back, we're going to wrap up the chicken dish and get it in the oven and start on our mixed berry crisp. I'll be right back with you in just a minute. Psalm 119 verse 73 says, "You made me and formed me with your hands. Give me understanding so I can learn your commands." God has formed each and every one of us, and He gave each and every one of us our own individual talents and giftings. If you're so concerned about your neighbor's talents and giftings, you know what? You're going to ignore your own. We need to get inside ourselves, foster the giftings and the talents that God has placed inside of you. Let God God give you the understanding and grow and develop those talents. If you continue to look at your neighbors and you forget your own, yours are going to waste away and not be used. So let's remember that God has formed us and use our talents for Him. Now, over the break, all I did was put those potatoes in the oven and turn my chicken. And you see how golden, that's the honey that you see caramelizing that chicken. And that is exactly what you want. Now, I'm going to remove, well, let me do this first. Let me let this one get a little more golden on that one side. I have one 12-ounce package of center cut bacon. You use whatever kind of bacon you like. And I'm just cutting it into little pieces because I'm going to cook it in that skillet. Let me get this chopped. I'm using 12 ounces. You want about, for 6 chicken breasts, I don't know, 12 or 13 pieces. And I find that the 12-ounce package is just about perfect because you know you're going to eat some. It's impossible to cook bacon and not snack on it. Absolutely not a doable thing, at least in my house. I end up eating, like I said, I eat half the time I'm cooking. Remove your chicken breasts and put them in a baking dish that is just large enough to hold them. Don't want it too big. Just big enough to hold those chicken breasts. Smells so good. You see all that brown, and it kind of looks a little bit black, but it's not burned. That's called fond. And that is flavor, my friends. That is flavor. You absolutely don't want to waste that. Now, to that, man, that smells so good. I'm going to add my bacon, and I'm going to cook my bacon in that same pan till my bacon is crisp. And I'm going to add, because there's not much oil in that, that's center cut bacon and it's very lean. I'm going to add a couple of teaspoons or so of the olive oil. You want that to crisp up. Now, while that's cooking, this is the only time I fry bacon. I had a lady stop me the other day and she said, "Oh, I tried your cooking the bacon in the oven. You know how we put it out on a baking sheet, put it in a 425 or so degree oven and cook the bacon in the oven?" And she loved it. And if you've never tried that, trust me, you will never fry bacon again. This is the only time I ever fry bacon, is if I'm chopping it, using it in a recipe. The rest of the time it goes in the oven because it's so much easier. While that's browning, we're going to get started on our wonderful little mixed berry crisp. Now, I am using today 2 different kinds of berries. You could absolutely use any kind of fruit that your family likes. And I'm using frozen fruit because I find, oftentimes the fresh fruit is, number one, so expensive. And because we're making a crisp out of it, the frozen fruit works perfectly well. It's not completely thawed. It's about halfway thawed, which is fine because we're actually going to simmer it for just a minute or two. I'm using these gorgeous blackberries. Look at these frozen blackberries at how beautiful they are. And then I'm using raspberries. If you wanted to use blueberries or strawberries or any kind of fruit you like, absolutely. Plums would be good in this. Frozen peaches would be good in this. Any combination of any kind of fruit that you like, and by all means, you can use the frozen fruit. In my skillet here, or my saucepan, I am just going to put the berries in there, and I have about 2 cups of each. I did save out a few of the whole berries for garnish on top of the crisp, so if you want to do that, now's the time to get some of that out of your pan. To this, I'm going to add about 3/4 of a cup of sugar, about 1/4 of a cup of brown sugar. And I smell my bacon, so let's stir our bacon up. Oh man, that smells so good. What you want to do, we're jumping back over to the chicken here real quick. Make sure that you use a flat spatula like this and scrape up all of that from the bottom as you go, because that, my friends, is flavor. You want to get that out of there. Cooking-wise, that's called fond. You'll hear that term a lot with people that cook. It's called fond, and it's flavor. Oh, so good. That bacon smells fabulous. Turn that up just a little bit. Back to my berries. Now I want to add the zest and the juice of a lemon to this. I very seldom ever will use a lemon that I don't get the zest off, because I find that the lemon zest has as much flavor as absolutely anything, and it's so good. The oils are all in that skin. You don't want to get, you see how you get that white part? You don't want to get the white part. You only want the yellow, the bright yellow. You could use a lemon in this. You could use a orange. If you didn't have a lemon, maybe you have an orange. You could use an orange. It doesn't matter. Whatever kind of citrus fruit you like will work. I'll put my little strainer up, so let's squeeze him right side up. Keep those seeds in there. And the juice, which is about probably 2 tablespoons or so. I just think there's absolutely no substitute for fresh lemon. I'm not a fan of the bottled lemon juice. If you don't mind the bottled lemon juice, you could use that. I just think, you know, for 30 cents, get yourself a lemon. The flavor to me is just incomparable. Fresh lemon really kind of is necessary. Stir that up. We just kind of want to bring that to a simmer. Bring out some of those natural juices of the berries. You could make this, really, and just let that simmer for, say, 10 minutes. Make a compote type thing and serve that over ice cream. Would be fabulous. We're going to make a crisp out of it, but you could make a dessert topping out of that. I'm a big fan. If you've ever watched this show before, you know this. I really, really like fruits for dessert. In some way, sometimes I'll use pound cake or angel food cake or ice cream or something like that, but I really do like fruit in dessert. And as a result, I tend to make that more often than not. Okay, our bacon is just about there. So what we want to do is pour half, because remember we would have used half of this in the baggie, but since I marinated last night, I'm only going to use about half of this. I'm going to bring that up to a simmer. This is going to create the sauce for our chicken, and I'm going to use my spatula, and I'm going to get up all of those little brown bits. I'm just going to let this come up to a simmer. We're going to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to make the topping for the crisp and get this chicken in the oven. I'll be right back with you in just a minute.
Give a little love, have a little hope, make this world a little better.
What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, you know I got it. All I'm asking is for
Excuse me, ma'am. Would you like to have my seat?
a little bit. R-E-S-P-C-T, find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-C-T.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Hey, and welcome back. Now our sauce has deglazed the pan. Our bacon and half of the marinade mixture that we used, or that we made, we didn't actually use that on the chicken. You want to take this mixture and just pour it all over your chicken. Make sure you get some of that bacon. I use a lot of bacon, folks. Because you're watching me, I didn't get to snack. Make sure you divide that bacon out evenly over the chicken breasts, because that's where the cheese is gonna go. Does that not look delicious? Absolutely delicious. Now I'm using today a mixture of just slice that you buy in the dairy department. This is Colby Jack and this is sharp cheddar, but you use whatever you like. And what I'm doing is putting one slice of cheese over each chicken breast, one slice of each type of cheese over each chicken breast. So I've got one slice of the sharp cheddar and then one slice of the Colby Jack, which I love. I just love Colby cheese and good sharp cheddar. I prefer sharp, but if you like the mild, get the mild. It's up to you. Whatever kind of cheese you like. You could use the shredded. If you had shredded in your refrigerator and wanted to use the shredded, that'd be perfectly fine too. Whatever your heart desires. Now, I'm gonna take and just put some fresh cracked pepper over top. I'm not using any salt because the bacon has got quite a bit of salt in it. But I do like pepper, so I'm putting some pepper over top. This just needs to go in the oven, bake for about 25 minutes or so, and then it'll be golden, delicious, and the cheese will be all melted, and it'll be wonderful. 350 degrees, center of the oven, and just let it go. Now, let's make our crisp topping for our wonderful little fruit. I've just got a small baking dish. This is about the equivalent of an 8x8 square baking dish. If that's what you have at home, that will be fine. You just want to pour your mixture down in the bottom of your dish, whatever kind of dish you're using. Isn't that beautiful? Then I have about a cup of just regular old-fashioned oatmeal, the oats that you buy in the store. This can bake at the same temperature as the chicken. This can go in at 350 degrees. I have one stick of butter that I have melted. Yum, yum. I have a teaspoon of ground cinnamon and then about 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt because yes, desserts need salt too. The salt brings out the flavor in the ingredients. So about 1/4 of a teaspoon. Don't need any pepper. And then I have a 1/2 cup of lightly packed brown sugar. And we're gonna stir all that together. And again, if you wanted to make this dessert and serve it with ice cream, would be fabulous. You wouldn't even have to put the crumb topping on there. You could just serve that fruit. But hey, who wouldn't want to eat this crumb topping? This is so versatile. I make this topping oftentimes, and if you like, you could add some nuts to it. You could put some pecans or walnuts or almonds or whatever you wanted. You could substitute the granola cereal that you buy in the grocery store, add some melted butter to just plain granola and use that instead of making your own. That's kind of what this is. This is really just a granola type topping. I make this a lot of times and I'll add pecans to it and I'll put it over apples and make a warm apple crisp. And in the fall when the apples are in season, it's just fabulous. Take your fingers, best tool you got, in my opinion, clean hands, and just kind of sprinkle that all over the top of that wonderful little crisp. Oh, I just love this dish. This is one of my favorites. And you're gonna bake that at 350 degrees, about 30 minutes or so, until the topping is golden and the fruit is all good and bubbly. About 30 minutes, and at the same time the chicken's gonna come out, your apple crisp will be, or your fruit crisp will be done. All right, now here is our wonderful, wonderful little smothered chicken with bacon. We did the marinade with the honey and the chicken broth and the thyme and the dry mustard. And we just poured that over there. We cooked some bacon, and then we topped that with a combination of Colby Jack and sharp cheddar cheese. These are absolutely fabulous little roasted potatoes. These you could do 1,000 different ways, any kind of spice blend that you like. But these are just little small red potatoes, which happen to be my favorite kind. If you like another kind of potato, use whatever kind you like. And all we did was add some the lemon pepper salt-free seasoning, a little bit of kosher salt, and some extra virgin olive oil. We roasted those for about 25 minutes. And here is our delicious mixed, I'm used to calling this apple because I make this in apple a lot. But this is our mixed berry crisp. And I used a combination of frozen blackberries and frozen raspberries. And I just simmered those just a little bit with some sugar, and then I made a wonderful little oatmeal type topping, a granola-ish topping, and we baked that for about 30 minutes, and it is fabulous. All we need to do is just put a little bit of chopped parsley over our chicken. This is an easy meal. You could marinate the chicken overnight and then bake it, get it ready to go in the oven, and then pop it in the oven when you get home from work or church or whatever you're doing, and it's a delicious little meal for your family. And oh my goodness, is it ever so, so, so good. Let's just add a little bit of parsley on top of our chicken, and I'm gonna taste this to see how we are. Got me a little nibble here of the wonderful chicken. It's so juicy. See on the inside of that chicken how juicy it is? That's because we don't overcook it, and we marinated it, and it just adds so much flavor to the chicken. And let's see how we did. But that with the bacon. You get a taste of the honey. Just a little hint of that honey with those wonderful cheeses. Absolutely fabulous. You have to try this. These potatoes are really one of my favorite things in the world to eat. I roast these little potatoes all the time with all kinds of different combinations.